What advice do you have for noobs with regard to U.S. regulations, the DJI ban, and buying when stuff's out of stock? My advice is don't stress about regulations. Uh, like, get your trust test. Sure. If you want, register your drones. But realistically, if you fly places where you're not pissing anybody off and you don't do dumb shit like fly near sports stadiums and airplanes, there is ample opportunity for you to enjoy the FPV hobby without ever encountering the FAA or law enforcement. Now, it sounds like what I'm advising you to do is to ignore the rules and just try to fly under the radar. That would be irresponsible of me. I'm just making an observation, right? If you get in trouble and you get caught, the fines are substantial. That may not be a risk that you want to take. But I will tell you, there's a whole lot of people out there who are they're not registering their drones. They're not putting remote ID on their drones. And the FAA's got better things to do than hunt them all down. And if you would like to be one of those people, then probably you're rolling the dice. But that may be a thing you're happy to do. And I say that because people get so stressed out about all of the rules. And it's like, don't stress. Learn about the rules. Comply with the rules to the degree that you're comfortable. I register my drones. I put remote ID on my drones. It's annoying, but it's just what I feel like I have to do because I have a big target on my back. Many people don't have a big target on their back. If you live in an urban area and you fly at parks where every time you fly there's a risk that you're potentially going to lose control and hit a car or hit a person. By the way, that's not a great idea, but like that is a thing that people do. Well, maybe you should follow the rules a little more, just so that, the worst doesn't happen to you. If you live in a remote area and you fly over somebody's field, somebody's farm field, I mean, there'd be a temptation to be just like, none of this matters. I'm just going to do my thing. As far as the regulations go, it's not that big a deal. Get your trust test, register your drones at FAA Drone Zone. Actually, if you're recreational, you just register yourself. You get an FAA number. Put the FAA number on the drone. Put a remote ID device on the drone. That's basically the extent of the rules. And then, there are rules about where you can fly. Stay under 400 feet. Don't fly near prisons. And use the before you fly or the autopilot app to see if it's safe. It's legal to fly where you are. I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks, interesting, I could do a video how to fly legally in the U.S. Because people think it's super complicated, but as I think about it, tell me if you disagree. It's basically like 5 or 6 steps. I just named them. Did I miss anything major that you can think of?
I don't know. Local regulation is the one thing you have to still be concerned about.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, the FAA has what they call preemption, which means they have rights over all the airspace down to the blade of grass. That's what they claim. However, local people don't care about that, and they make rules that are ancillary that will get you in trouble instead. So if there's no drones posted at a park, you take off outside of the park, you fly around the park, and you land outside the park, right? You're not in violation of a state rule because there's preemption in the FAA, but they might think you are. They might take you to court. You might have to fight through 3 or 4 groups of court systems up to a point in which they recognize the FAA preemption. You might have to pay all those court cases all the way up, right? So you're deciding, like you talked about the whole time, you're deciding at each step what rules you follow.
Right.
But often local rules are made on purpose. And people will be more apt to police them because they're made locally on purpose. Somebody doesn't like people flying at that park, and that's why there's a no drones at that park rule. So those are the things I would be more paying attention to. Most people who don't come up to you don't know what remote ID is, but they know if you're supposed to be flying at this park according to the local municipality, right? That sort of thing. That's where I would go with it. But otherwise, like you said, it's very simple. Really all you're supposed to have is a sticker of your identification on your drone and the trust test and know your community-based organization rules, right? And then you go fly, and that's about it. Make sure it's not
that's a
airspace
good
in a
point.
loft.
I left that out. you're supposed to fly according to the rules of your CBO, community-based organization. There's safety policies, safety protocols of the CBO. That is a requirement in the regulation. The FPV Freedom Coalition is a community-based organization with a published safety protocol that you could be following. Worth pointing out.
We're hopefully in the next few months we're going to update it to be a little more user-friendly when you see it, because right now it's legalese, and we're going to try to make it refile it and make it a little better for people to come to the site and get a better idea of like what do you need to fly, and then all the jargon under that, because legally it's like a binding document. But
I got to tell you, like, if you asked me, like, I read the safety protocol published by the FPV Freedom Coalition when it first came out. I got to tell you, when I fly at my house, I don't pull that thing out and, like, confirm that I'm following every single rule. I, like, as long as I stay on my property, I'm like, I could probably do whatever I want. You know? I don't know.
While we're we're already in the law semantics, right? So again, you have to get in trouble for this stuff, right? So somebody has to like think you don't need to be there, right? And then somebody has to come that knows anything about it, right? And they might handle it in a bunch of different ways. But like, stuff like CBO rules, the layer you have to get down to for somebody to even know what that is pretty rare.
Right.
You might get a cop who's super educated, but most people are just going to go like, do you have a license to fly this drone, or why are you out here? And then you're going to explain why, and then they're going to go back and forth, and maybe there's a surveillance rule you violated, or some Karen called, and then you're going to try to resolve it, right? It's going to be a one-on-one thing based on the situation. It's not like a hard-pressed, like, here's what's going to happen.
So that's my advice, I guess, is my advice.
Yes. Real quick, I just want to say one more thing. So he also said the upcoming DJI ban, like in the question. And I just want to say, we if you want to go earlier in the stream, we talked a lot about these topics and stuff. But one thing in the chat that people keep mentioning is they think that somehow they're going to brick DJI drones.
No.
I just want to be clear about this. Number one, DJI has no incentive to do that.
DJI could do that.
They could do that. They absolutely could. I think they have no incentive to do that. Okay. Number two, right now you can use a VPN and activate your device anywhere in the world. There's no, it's just IP based. So even if the US IPs were banned, for instance, you could use a VPN to activate somewhere else.
The DJI drone knows where it is because it has GPS. That's true. Sorry. That's true for DJI drones like the Mavic, the Air, etc. Not for DJI FPV products. They do not have GPS. They do not have any interaction with the GPS on your drone. The DJI Air unit doesn't know where you are. The goggles do. The goggles Integra and Goggles 3 have GPS built in for remote ID. So technically the goggles could know where you are, even if you... But they don't.
But this is assuming that DJI, who does not want the ban in the first place, would comply with some government action to try to get them to do this when they're not even allowed here in the first place. So I'm not sure why they would ever do that, right?
Right.
But the other realistic thing is just that, maybe the FCC certs will get pulled. So if you're trying to do something professionally, that might become a little more difficult with that drone. That's what I would say. I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, okay.